Hello, and welcome to Soft Human Voice. This is a podcast dedicated to helping you remember your source divine connection, helping you to remember that you're not alone, you are loved, you are wise, you're intuitive, you are more co-creative than you think. And I started this podcast to help us remember this together. And I'm super excited to introduce my guest today, who is Rob Nelson. And you can say hi, Rob. He's on with us today. And I just wanted to dovetail on Let's Remember Together. As I just read one of Rob's books, and he said that part of the admission price of coming into a human body is amnesia. So I love that line. It has been my experience. So I'm really looking forward to talking to Rob and introducing you to him and what he does. But first, to introduce myself, my name is Jessica Shepard. I'm an astrologer, intuitive guide. I'm the author of 5 books and counting, including a Love Alchemist notebook and Venus Signs. I am host of this podcast, and I also write a companion newsletter on Substack called Soft Human Words. So you can find me over on Substack. You can find me at jessicashepard.net. You can find my astrology blog at moonkiss.com. So now I'm gonna introduce Rob Nelson. I'm just gonna read his bio to just start out, and then I'll talk about how we connected. But Rob's bio is Rob brings humor, passion, and unconventional wisdom to the field of personal transformation. He's the author of the best-selling book, Hacking Reality and 7 Secret Reasons. And he works with clients worldwide. With a master's in counseling psychology, Rob began his career supporting traumatized children, leading parent education workshops, and working the graveyard shift at a suicide hotline. Rob became an EFT, or Emotional Freedom Techniques practitioner, in 2008 and received certification from its founder, Gary Craig. For 17 years, he has specialized in resolving traumatic memories, particularly sexual trauma, while addressing relationship challenges, narcissistic abuse, and blocks to success. So Rob has formed the Tapping the Matrix Academy, which is how we connected, and Rob has trained hundreds of EFT, matrix reimprinting, and hacking reality practitioners since 2011 through his program. And he's known for breaking down complex ideas into clear, relatable insights with a sharp sense of humor. You can find more out about Rob at his website, tappingthematrix.com. And of course, this will be in the, show description. So welcome, Rob.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah. Such a pleasure to have you. And you do break down complex insights with humor, and you bring this clarity. You sent me your PDFs of your recent books, and I really appreciated those. And I was like, oh wow, these are really easy to read, really warm and engaging and conversational.
Great. I'm glad to hear that.
So we like that because it makes these tools accessible, right, to everybody. When a teacher does something that really is so layered and nuanced as you do, I mean, it's just so deep. And then to be able to bring it to the masses and speak to it in such a easy way, it was really, really a joy. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to share first how we connected, because Rob and we'd known each other for a little while, but even he was asking me, how did we connect originally? And so I went to an EFT practitioner. I sought out an EFT practitioner named Zoe Walton, who is in the Bay Area, and Rob is also in the Bay Area. You're still in the Bay Area, right?
I am.
You're in Santa Rosa?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that I was trying to remember what issue I went to her for. It could have been public speaking at the time, or it could have been something related to energy sensitivity, because I was getting a lot of empath lessons and awareness coming in at the time. But what really blew my mind about EFT and then being introduced to what you're going to talk about too, matrix reimprinting / hacking reality. What blew my mind is how deep it could go. And then I got hooked and I started doing it on myself. And then I decided I wanted to learn from a master. So that's how we connected. So that's my origin story with you, Rob. I would love to know like your origin story with EFT a little bit more.
Oh, sure. I've told the story a million times, but
You'll
I
be
should.
good at it.
Yeah, I have two daughters, and they were pretty young at the time. And for some reason, my wife would get really depressed whenever they'd squabble, and like they didn't squabble that much, but it was pretty well defined pattern. And one day I came home and they were squabbling, and my wife just seemed cool as a cucumber. She actually seemed like such a different person that kind of freaked me out. So I made the logical conclusion she'd probably been replaced by a pod person, right? What else could explain such a change? But we had a really small backyard. I couldn't find a pod. So finally, I remember she was actually in the bathtub. And I said, "Hey, honey, you seem different." And she said, "Oh, I've been doing this weird tapping stuff." Um, oh, do tell. And she said, "Yeah, this guy, he just gives it away, this free 80-page manual you can download." Well, who gives their stuff away? So this would have been 2007. So I downloaded that 80-page manual and started tapping on my own stuff. And I experienced changes I did not know were possible. All of a sudden, all my anxiety, I didn't even know I had any anxiety until it was gone.
Yeah.
And I felt this huge hollow space in a good way where it had been. So I just was working on myself and working on myself. And then I remember very vividly, I was riding my bike uh, down the street, and it was almost like getting whacked in the head with a plank. This voice said, "You should be doing this with clients." I've never heard a voice like that before. I don't think I've ever heard a voice like that since. But, at that point in my life, I'd just thrown out all the counseling psychology. I was being a massage therapist. And it's like, oh, I really should. So I took the available trainings and hung out my shingle in March of 2008, started seeing clients. And then I just love teaching. I wanted everyone to know about this stuff. So I started teaching. And about the time Gary Craig first retired, he handed over his EFT empire to a local guy, local to me, Dawson Church. And I didn't know Dawson, but somehow he invited me to be one of the initial trainers for EFT Universe. So I did that for about 3 years. Then decided to start my own academy where we met.
In your little office. Is that your office? It was beautiful Victorian house
Yeah.
in Santa Rosa. He's still there?
No, I gave it up in October 2022, right about this time of year. Just nobody came anymore for 5 months. I didn't have a single client. All my clients were on Zoom.
Pandemic. Yeah.
No. All
No?
through 2020 and 2021, there was no change, really. Maybe for a few weeks, but no, it was very weird, Jessica. Just suddenly, around mid-May, for a while, I just kept going in once a week to water all my plants, like that big boy back there. And after 4 months, it's like, okay, I'm getting a message here. So no, I let it go.
Gotcha. So now you work by Zoom mostly, huh?
Yeah.
So this is a good segue into what it is you do exactly. Can you describe what EFT is and how we can, I don't know if you want to dovetail into matrix or just start with EFT.
Sure. Well, EFT was an accidental discovery back in the late 70s. And just to put it, long story short, It's based on tapping on specific acupuncture points on the body, and it's a way of interfacing with the nonverbal limbic brain. The limbic brain is our emotional brain, and it regulates stress, fight or flight, the freeze response. It's where trauma comes from and lives.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nonverbal. We share this brain with all other mammals, and our speech centers developed millions of years later than the evolution of the limbic brain. So I like to say, imagine a vet coming back from, let's say, Afghanistan, terrible PTSD, just a wreck. Well, you could tell him, "Hey, buddy, you're home now. You're safe. Relax." And is that going to help? Of course not. It might be insulting, even like, "Oh, hey, thanks. I hadn't thought of that." And it wouldn't help because the PTSD is centered in this nonverbal brain. That's why a lot of talk therapy just doesn't have the goods when it comes to trauma. But tapping communicates directly with that part of the brain, which means we have a way of regulating our subconscious mind and our subconscious reactions to things. It's
And
either, yeah.
yeah,
Sorry,
well, I just, as you were tapping, I just wanted to ask the question because I live in Hawaii and there's a large Asian population, and anything we connect with traditional Chinese medicine. So, are we tapping on acupressure, meridian lines? What are we tapping on exactly?
yeah. Most of the points, almost all of the points, are the what's called the origin, the first point in a meridian that goes all through the body. And there's different meridians that involve different organs. Um, the point up here on the crown of the head is a little different. It's just where some intersect. Same with the front and back of the wrist. But like this is the stomach meridian point. Um, you need to know absolutely nothing about acupuncture or which point goes to which meridian because of the brilliance of Gary Craig, the founder of EFT. And he took over a system called thought field therapy, and with his engineer's mind, he refined it down to where we're just tapping all the points, stimulating all the meridians with each round of tapping. So you don't need to know which one is which.
Hmm.
I
And
will,
I'm asking you that question because I absolutely do not know, even after years of tapping. I have made the connection though that certain tapping points can be more releasing for me. But see,
right.
that's intuitive. I don't even need to know the energy names or anything. Yeah. Yeah.
There's one exception though.
Okay.
There's points that were not included in Gary's original protocol. They're very important. I learned this by having acupuncturists come through my EFT workshops. And hopefully I can do a quick demo. Down under the breasts on the lower ribs, I'm actually tapping on my bottom ribs. And both sides, either side, one side, the other, or both. That's the liver meridian. And it's very important in traditional Chinese medicine. The liver is hugely important.
Yeah.
It also governs anger, which I know it's weird, but some people might feel. And it got left out of the protocol because women have breasts, and Gary
Oh,
was
yeah.
tapping on. Initially, he was doing the tapping, and it would be too awkward, especially doing a demonstration up on stage.
Yeah.
But my acupuncturist students would say, "This is madness." And so I
Yeah.
listened, and yeah. So I've been doing those points since probably 2012, 13, something like that.
Yeah. I don't remember not doing those points, but
Great.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah. Very cool. So, and what we're doing, just to clarify, when we're tapping, is we are releasing energy, stuck emotion, um, feelings we didn't realize we had. But it's kind of like peeling an onion. There are layers to it. Oftentimes, I found, and So it can be any type of issue. Can you give us a few examples of just what you would use as kind of basic EFT tapping formula on?
Gosh, it could be just about anything. The first discovery was around a water phobia, and it was actually just this point. It was released almost instantly. But I help people. Um, gosh, one way to look at it is quality of life issues. Um, so if there's an area of your life that isn't going well, whether it's romantic relationships or money or some kind of health challenge, but generally what we're doing is we're releasing old stuck emotions, emotions that didn't have a chance or weren't permitted to just run their course, and they get stuck and get kind of icky. But also there's a level where we're working with beliefs, like we decide when we're children certain things that may be completely off and ruining our life now. They're like lines of code in our operating system we're not even aware of. And like the most profoundly damaging ones might be something like, I'm unworthy or I'm unlovable or there's just something wrong with me.
Somebody will always leave me.
Exactly.
It's like you can use it on anything.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not safe to trust people. The world's a dangerous place. If something good happens, the other shoe's gonna drop and I'll lose.
I've tapped on that one.
Yeah.
The
Those
rug's gonna be pulled out from under me. Yeah.
To tap away the limiting beliefs is huge, hugely life changing, especially if it's what we call a core belief, like I'm unlovable or the world's a dangerous place, because those beliefs affect pretty much everything in our life.
That's right. So there's the shifts can just be so profound when you get to the root of those beliefs. Um, it just can change your life. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I should mention EFT also can work on physical problems. One of Gary's trademark phrases was often works where nothing else has. And interestingly, it doesn't always work for physical things. With emotional stuff or beliefs, it's pretty much guaranteed. With physical things, sometimes not, but when it does work, it can seem like a miracle.
Mhm.
For example, I remember this older gentleman with a rotator cuff injury, and he could only he could lift his arm up partway, but even that hurt pretty bad. I had 10 minutes to work with him in a tapping group. And after about 6 minutes, 7 minutes, he could raise his arm up pretty high and it only hurt a little. And then after 8 minutes, he was waving his arm around with this astonished look on his face. He said, I've seen the x-rays.
Yeah.
He was supposed to go in for surgery.
Yeah.
And he's like, how is this possible?
I
And
love those kind of miracles. They're so inspiring. And I love that you name that it has limits too, Rob, because my experience has been that too. I have tried like a good little tapper to eliminate fibromyalgia pain. And it just doesn't work for that for me. But it's shifted so many other things. It does not also work for energy sensitivity symptoms. So I'm empathic. And if I pick up the neighbor's um, despair like I did yesterday, um, I have to do something different. It's not going to work for that. But these belief based, um, wounded parts of ourselves, just brilliant.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the issues you mentioned, I would say, well, that's a job for hacking reality or matrix re-imprinting.
Okay.
So let me just jump
Please.
in with that. So a gentleman in England, Carl Dawson, was an EFT master, and he developed a technique called matrix re-imprinting where, um, like if you were my client, we would identify a particular traumatic memory. And
Mhm.
let's say at the time it happened, you were 5 years old. So I would have you step into that scene as you are right now, as your adult self, and guide you through interacting with and then tapping on the younger self. We'd find out, hey, what are you feeling? And what did you decide in this moment about yourself or about life? That's where some of these beliefs come from. And when they're coming from a traumatic moment, they're usually pretty impactful on the rest of our life. So I would have you tap on the little girl, get her out of distress, get her out of the freeze response. And then we would change. We'd ask her, hey, when she was feeling better, how would you like this scene to change? And then we would pretty much make that happen. The new picture would encode the opposite of the negative limiting belief, just organically represent that. And instead of the traumatic emotion, whether it was fear, shame, horror, sadness, whatever, now there would be a new positive, very strong positive feeling. And re-imprinting it through the brain, all through the body, bringing it into the heart and then back out. In a nutshell, that's matrix re-imprinting. And I took that and furthered into what I call hacking reality. And so something like fibromyalgia almost certainly comes from the stems from the origin of it is some traumatic memory my client may not actually remember at all. And it's very difficult to just do garden variety tapping on the symptom of something like that compared to going back and helping the younger self.
That's right. And I should correct my statement because EFT itself, the basic, does not help the fibromyalgia, but the re-imprinting does. And I have spent some really great sessions with I do you know Taro Gerritsen? Have you heard this name? Okay, she's a friend of Zoe's. So going back to that origin of the trauma when it occurred, and so that profoundly released me from some deep muscle pain. I remember the first time I did that, I was like symptom free for a year. It was incredible. So that is a whole different category, what you're talking about. And the re-imprinting versus EFT, I don't know, they're apples to oranges. They're different uses to me. But anytime, and you can tell me more about this, I feel anytime something is rooted in a trauma, we're going to use hacking reality / matrix re-imprinting and going back to that, right?
Ideally.
Yeah.
And my definition for trauma is a little different than most people might have. It's anytime we go into the freeze response. So let me back up a little bit. We're in animal bodies, right? And so when we're faced with a threat, our brains, the limbic brain actually sends us into fight or flight. But because we're humans, the threat can actually be to our identity. It can be imaginal. It doesn't actually have to be a wild animal about to kill us.
Right.
So when we go into fight or flight, our resources are mobilized to either run away or do battle. All this adrenalated blood goes to our arms and legs. And it can happen very, very, very quickly. But sometimes we meet that threat with a profound sense of helplessness, especially for very young children. We really can't run away or fight or tiny. And so when fight or flight is met with a perceived helplessness, the brain switches us over to the freeze response. Fight or flight is activating our resources to take action. Freeze response is deep, deep relaxation. Most people can relate to the idea of going into shock. If you've had like some horrific injury, you don't feel the pain, you're anesthetized. But if paramedics show up, the first thing they do, well, they'll stop the bleeding, but they get you out of shock because relaxation in this sense means your heart stops and you die. That's like the ultimate relaxation. And yeah, we don't want that.
We like to relax, but not that much.
Not that much. So when that happens, a part of us splits off, basically to contain the emotional intensity of the situation so that we don't just lay down and die. And that part I call the younger self. It's an exact holographic replica of who we are in that moment. It's obviously it's energetic. There's not suddenly two physical versions of you, but this energetic version is a perfect replica at that moment. But the thing that freezes in the freeze response is actually time.
Yeah.
And so for that split off part of you, they're just stuck there endlessly reliving it. They never age, they never grow, they never learn anything new. You do, you go on, but they are still there holding it for you.
Kind of like a spooky Halloween movie, a ghost haunting. You have all these younger selves in these energy loops, right? In your field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for you, it's a memory, but for them, it's a current event that never stopped happening. And that's a serious problem because, well, they're contained in what's been called a trauma capsule. And if you imagine like a capsule, like for a supplement or medicine, in this case, it's energetic, and the shell of the capsule is dissociation, meaning that just to survive, it has to be pushed down out of our conscious, immediate recollection.
Kind of like the way we keep ourselves safe, right? It's like that we got to keep it all in and down.
Yeah. To the extent that it's working perfectly, we might have complete amnesia that anything even happened. But way more common, we kind of know something happened, but our feelings are muted. We're being protected from the intensity. But sometimes something happening now is a match for what happened then, and that dissociation breaches or ruptures, and all of a sudden the feelings from that younger self can come flooding into us.
Yeah.
And we may not have any idea why or what's happening. And the poster child for that is a panic attack. The thing,
Or being triggered, yeah? Like being triggered and into feelings that feel totally radically disproportionate to the experience we're having.
yes, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Road rage, there's no end to what could be disproportionate.
So it's like the average person is just, have interaction, fight with a coworker or something, and everybody else is like, why are they reacting this way? Or they're going home going, I can't let go of this. This is like in this loop, right? And keeps kind of coming back. Or they're kind of ways to recognize this trauma capsule is leaking, right? I'm just kind of going with it. It's that, certain events and people will be that match, that energetic match.
Yeah. I think that sometimes we'll meet somebody and our friends, oh, you have to meet Jane. She's wonderful. And you meet Jane and like you don't like her at all. It sets your teeth on edge.
Yeah.
And you don't know why. It's probably she's a match to Miss Bowen, your third grade teacher who made your life a living hell. Just some subtle facial structure or quality of the voice.
It doesn't take much when the trauma capsule's ready to rupture, I find. Like it can be surprising. And I think you talk about that in your book too. It can be surprising that, oh, you went there with that when you're in the matrix in the field. And what's that about? But it can be something seemingly insignificant to the thinking mind, but to that part of yourself that is trapped in that loop, it's absolutely relevant. And that's kind of my reframing around triggers is it's time. It's time to let that come up and heal finally. Right.
I think you make a great point, Jessica. When we think of trauma, it's usually something big and horrific. But the genesis or the seed that gets planted can often be something that seems so inconsequential, it's not apparent to us.
Yeah.
But the reason it's important is usually the decision that was made by the younger self. And then from that moment on, they're looking for, or we are looking for confirmation that what we thought was true. And being human, we're really good at finding that confirmation.
So you gave an example. Can I just talk about your book for a second? Because it's
Oh,
just
sure.
fresh. Yeah, you gave an example of, and correct me if I don't know if I'm remembering this right, because I read a lot in one day. um, but it was an example about a woman who was in remembering being born and seeing a particular person and having that somehow can be connected to her patterns of abandonment or betrayal in the future. And it had to do with her mom being that a person walked in to the mom. The mom had some kind of romantic connection to this person who was not her
Oh,
father. And then
right.
he walked out. And it was like, really that? So maybe you can tell that story since I know it's
Yeah,
public anyways.
she
Yeah.
was actually in the womb.
Okay.
And of course, when we're in the womb, we're tied to our mother uh, emotionally through the bloodstream that we share. And Candace Pert discovered the emotional language is chemical. It goes the neuropeptides that go through the bloodstream. So yeah, this woman had married a very violent man,
Right.
and I don't think he was beating her up, but he was in I think, an Eastern European country, and her old boyfriend had come to the door to try and win her back, not realizing she was like 7, 8 months pregnant. And when she saw him, her husband was in the back room, and she just went into a state of absolute panic because, oh, if he came out, there would be blood. And
Yeah.
then she's just, I mean, oh, my husband's going to prison. I have to raise his baby by myself. She's freaking out. Well, luckily, the boyfriend, the ex-boyfriend, was like, "Oh, you're like enormously pregnant." Phew, he's out of there.
Yeah.
So basically, nothing happened except my client, the baby in the womb, got hit with this walloping dose of terror, panic, terror,
Mhm.
without any context. And what did she decide? She in the womb, she decided something. I don't remember what it was. Probably says in the book. And then she was stuck with that.
It had something to do with this pattern that she had of, attracting unavailable partners.
Mm.
I think that's what I was remembering. Um, but you identified that and you were like, "Really?"
So one of the ways this works, which I just find endlessly fascinating, is we seem to be participating in a field of energy. I'm sure in the old days we call ether. My favorite term for it now is the Akashic field, where every moment of our life is recorded.
Mhm.
And the freeze response moments aren't just recorded, they're flagged for easily found and easily accessed. Because again, time freezes. So there's like a wormhole to our normal experience of space-time. So we can access events all the way back in the womb into other lifetimes in the Akashic field, even if we don't have a conscious recollection.
Mhm.
We can actually access events we never knew about, and that stuff never gets old.
And I love that you, because it's I don't know, probably the same thing that Zoe taught me or I learned it from you is when was the first time that you felt this way? That question. So you don't have to remember per se. When you're tapping, you are interacting with a field of energy that's so much bigger than your conscious mind. And when you ask the question and you're tapping on yourself, when was the first time I felt this way? You can just go like right into a wormhole and into this aspect of yourself that's relevant.
Yeah, it's just right there.
It's right there.
Let
It's
me
kind of like shamanic journeying to me, what I understand of it, even though I don't know if I've ever done that, because I really do feel like we are traveling um, back and we're recorrecting and we're,
well, let me
yeah,
let me share my favorite story from
yeah,
it.
please.
Um, so I worked with a woman. This is so long ago, I don't remember any of the details, but she had two brothers, and they're all little kids. Like, I don't know, maybe 6, 7, 8, 7, 8, 9, something like that. And something bad happened to all three of them. And so we were doing. It was back then. It was matrix 3D printing, and we worked with her younger self, and we created a beautiful new picture and re-imprinted it. Went great. Well, unbeknownst to me, she was going to a family reunion in a week or two, and when she showed up, there's her two brothers. They'd arrived before her, and they're talking, and she's being polite. She didn't want to interrupt them, so she kind of walked up quietly and listened to what they were talking about. And they were describing the event that she and I had worked on, but they were describing the new scene, the new picture. Their recollections, their memories had changed.
It changed. Yeah.
And when she was very excited to share that with me, and at that moment, I think I got it. We're not
The
just
impact of what we're doing.
actually hacking reality
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah.
So it's not just a
Yeah.
psychological healing tool for the person's,
Yeah.
own psyche. We're actually changing reality.
I love that. I got
World.
goosebumps. I got goosebumps just now when you told that story. So I just think it's so amazing. And when I just most people don't know what they're capable of healing and all the different ways that are just so magical that we can experience healing occur by just working on ourselves. And I remember when I used to do more couples astrology, or women would come in to see me, and uh, maybe I should bring my partner. And I'm like, really, just start with you. That's what that immediately made me think of, because one person's healing can just, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it's inspiring.
It's good stuff. I think most of us who are interested in this kind of thing probably grew up with self-help books or self-improvement, this or that. And I've slowly, sometimes I kind of thick-headed, but I've slowly learned to appreciate the idea of authenticity as possibly the highest value. A lot of people are trained to be good, and stuff like that. That's great. Or to be virtuous, kind, generous, whatever. But the idea with authenticity for me is that we're not improving. We're not doing self improvement. We're releasing the stuff that doesn't belong, the stuff that isn't actually ours to carry or hold, the stuff that is inauthentic, whether that's the emotional debris or beliefs that aren't true and don't actually work or fit. And so with EFT and with both techniques, we're stripping that away. We're sloughing it off, and it's enormously liberating.
And what I was thinking of when you were talking about that is, you know, yeah, we are the authenticity is like a form of integrating the shadow and accepting all of it, the dark and the light and the bad stuff that we think that really isn't um, bad once you liberate it. But you can go into the field and these stories we tell ourselves of the memories we have, not that those aren't real, but you can actually go back into the field with like trauma experiences from childhood and have these healing re-imprints happen where you not always, but sometimes understand why they did that, why they behave that way. you definitely always understand why you formed the belief that you did.
Right.
But sometimes you can actually work with, what do you call those? Those
Perpetrator.
what's that?
The perpetrator.
Perpetrator. Yeah. If you're the victim in this scenario, the perpetrator, whether, they're dead or alive.
Right. When in hacking reality, we can actually do tapping on other people in the picture.
Mhm.
So, like my client's a little girl, and mom just yelled at her. Doesn't seem like that's a trauma. Well, it could be, depending on what the little girl decided. Well, we would start by tapping with the little, let's say 3 or 4-year-old. But then, mom's frozen. Say, would you like us to help mommy feel better? Oh, sure, yes, please. And so we unfreeze mom. Say, so my adult client is there tapping with her mom now and saying, well, why were you yelling at your little girl? And then some part of that person actually shows up to work with us.
Mhm.
And I know this is true because sometimes we get information that,
Like, how would we know that?
yeah, like the boyfriend coming to the door. My
Yeah.
client didn't know that it happened.
Yeah.
She actually, after her session, called her mom and said, Mom, when you were pregnant with me, did someone come to the door? And her mom just started, oh my God, that was awful. Like, wait a minute, how did you know that? Because
Yeah.
nobody knew that.
Yeah.
So we find out from mom, she's upset because she just got a phone call and found out her sister has cancer. And she's just, flipping out. Or we find out, oh, well, she was traumatized in exactly the same way when she was little. And we can go back and
Mhm.
fix that too. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we have access to information. So, in my experience, if the person's dead now, it feels to me like we're releasing karma. It's like, oh, great. Now I don't have to have another lifetime with my stepdad or whoever. If they are alive now, it could absolutely have an effect on that person, a therapeutic effect. Um, Sometimes my client will get an upgraded version of their mom or whoever it is because of that work we did.
That's been my experience. Definitely with one parental unit who is still living. Um, and um, although unfortunately that was somewhat temporary, but my mother has passed, but I've also had things illuminated. And so, I've wondered if that higher self version, because that's my understanding of people crossing over the other side. It's like all is revealed and there's more resource available to them, more capacity for self-forgiveness and reflection and all of that. So you know, often I've thought that that's, that can come through. Um, but it just, the fact that we can often validate what these things that come up that we would have no way of knowing otherwise, we can validate, or we can see the energy shift around us, or we can hear things coming out of somebody else's mouth that otherwise would not have come out of their mouth. It's just, yeah, quite magical.
Yeah. Like just yesterday, I worked with a woman for the first time. And when she was 5, her father died in a farming accident. And I think she had a 2.5-year-old little brother, and mom's 25 and flipping out, of course. Oh, and they'd had a big fight right before the accident, mom and dad. So mom was just a mess. Well, we went in actually at the funeral and worked with the younger self, and she's very confused. She doesn't really understand dad's died. She's a little kid, but we were able to bring in the spirit of dad.
Mhm.
It turned out they had a wonderful relationship. Mom was kind of cold, dad was kind of warm or very warm. Well, we were able to bring him in. And then once the little girl was good, we tapped on mom. And we tapped on that guilt, like she killed him by having that fight with him, in her mind.
Yeah.
Terrible, terrible
Wow.
burden to carry. So we tapped on that. And once she got to a certain calm enough place, she could see the spirit of her husband. And then they had a communion I wasn't privy to, but all was pretty much healed. Um, and mom actually, my mom had just recently died. So,
Wow.
but yeah, we can do this crazy, amazing healing work.
I know, I'm like, we can do this. We have permission. We do have permission to heal in this way. We're not, you know, you use the analogy of in your book, like almost like we think we are being held captive to a movie. Like we can't get out of the theater. We're lost in the emotions of it. Um, the drama is going to happen. And then we discover through tools like this that there is a witness, there is an observer or bystander that is able to be much more wise and helpful and um, detach, dissociate in a good way from whatever drama is occurring and work through it.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, the universal reframe, which isn't always made explicit, when like if you went back to help that little 5-year-old younger self, that you basically might tell her, hey, this is really terrible what's happening, but I've already done this. I've already lived through this.
Yeah.
I don't need for you to go through it again. I've come back to change it, to help you have a better time than I had. It's sort of,
And
in
go ahead.
physics, there's the idea of superposition, that basically in every given moment, there's a near infinite number of possible moments that could come out of it. And some people say in the mind of God, everything that can happen is happening. And so we're basically navigating to a better parallel reality or universe where we can have a better time. And we can also do that just with regular EFT, by the way.
Beautiful. I'm gonna work. Rob's going to lead us through a little taste of this in a second. I think this is a good time to kind of try it out. But I just wanted to say just on that, yeah. Getting to know that aspect of myself who does have permission to create a parallel reality, to re-imprint a better situation, to time travel, to clear out all, like literally like for people who do exorcisms. Like to literally be my own exorcist in a good way, right? A healing way. I've gotten to know this aspect of myself through matrix re-imprinting. Was probably my first introduction to this wise, I would say, divine um, aspect that is in touch with all that is and is a part of the I am, the divine source. And now I know her, and she walks into the room when I'm doing this matrix re-imprinting, and she wears a certain dress. She looks as, she has this authority. It's really, really lovely to be able, I wouldn't call it, it's not at all inner child work as you make that distinction too. You're working with younger aspects of yourself who are just in these time loops, in these trauma capsules, and you're bringing resource, you're bringing hope, you're bringing possibility, and you're literally unlocking your life to go forward without those problems.
Right. We're busting these younger selves out of hell.
Yeah, out of
And
these
then,
prisons. Yeah.
I think that we reassimilate some of their vitality, and yeah. And then
Mhm.
with the new positive beliefs and emotions are yummy, and we get
They're
to,
so palpable. They're so, yes, satisfying, like to just be allowed to have that experience is such a gift. So, I'm wondering if you want to, we're not going to do the, you know, the trauma one, where everybody can relax, right? Do something basic for us just to give us a taste.
I was thinking maybe stress, because
Perfect.
if someone's watching this and they're feeling no stress, brilliant. That's great.
Show
Most of
you.
us have something. So I just ask people to tune into something in their life now that's stressing them out. Some
Mhm.
person, circumstance, experience, and just in EFT we use a 0 to 10 scale. So thinking about something, either something specific or just your general feeling of stress, give it a number. Don't worry about being accurate, just whatever comes to mind. And this is gonna be very short and very basic, right? So, and I'll show you where to tap on yourself, and I'll give you words to say and just say them back. So, even though
Even though,
I have this stress,
and Rob, because some people may be listening and not seeing this, could you
oh,
name the points as we go through
oh,
them? Is that going to be too
no, no, that's fine.
too
It
much
didn't
of
occur
a?
to me. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, tapping on the side of your hand, either hand is fine. Tapping with the other hand,
Hmm.
even though I have this stress.
And should we repeat after you?
Yes, please.
Even though I have the stress,
I deeply love and completely accept myself.
I deeply love and completely accept myself.
I'm tapping right on the crown of the head. This feeling of stress,
This feeling of stress,
and on the inner eyebrow, all of the stress,
all of the stress,
and on the temple, this stress I'm feeling,
the stress I'm feeling,
under the eye, all the stress,
all this stress,
and under the nose, this feeling that things just aren't okay.
this feeling that things just aren't okay.
On the chin point, something's really wrong.
Something's really wrong.
And then on the sternum, on the collarbone point, all the stress in my body.
All the stress in my body,
And then on the lower ribs, this feeling of stress.
this feeling of stress,
And then under the arm, the bra strap point, some people call it, this feeling of stress in my body.
this feeling of stress in my body,
And on the front of the wrist, just under the hand, all this stress.
all this stress,
And the other side of the wrist, all this stress in my body.
all this stress in my body.
And back up to the crown of the head. I forgive myself for holding all this stress.
I forgive myself for holding all this stress.
And on the eyebrow point, I give myself permission to release it.
I give myself permission to release it.
Okay, there's a very short round of tapping. Oh, yeah, taking a nice deep breath now. And if you think back to the number you had when you started, just see if it's gone down. 10 would be the worst. 0 is nothing at all.
I went from 2 to that.
0, nice. Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about any stress, but I feel better. You get stressed out trying to lead, tapping, calling out the points, probably.
Yeah, yeah. There's something really relaxing for the nervous system, I think, to just do that body mind connection. Thank you so much. I think we've spent this is an hour well spent for me, hopefully for you. I just, I could go on and on about how much I love this tool. And I just wanted to mention that one of the reasons that Rob and I reconnected was because he has ongoing trainings. And if you participate in his trainings and you get certified, you can retake his trainings. And so I had reached out to say, hey, I remember it just came to me one day. I don't know. I was working on something and I was like, I'd like to just get a little refresher. So that's how Rob and I just reconnected this year. You're going to be having hosting some trainings in January, yeah?
I'm doing the Hacking Reality, which is actually 3 weekends. If people do level 1, they'll be empowered to do the technique. Level 2 is a lot of really juicy stuff like birth reimprinting, in utero work, It's all kinds of nice stuff. And level 3 is sort of expert level, including a new section on narcissistic abuse. But I'm teaching that in January. I don't remember the dates. It's on my website.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to take a break from teaching practitioner trainings. So this is it. And if to be able to take the hacking reality, people have to have taken EFT level 1 and 2. And the academy, my academy, has one more training. If someone happens to see this soon, I think starting November 1st and 2nd. It's
Oh, cool.
I'm not teaching that one, but great training for EFT. So if anybody's like, oh my God, I want to learn this, well, get on it. And
I just from experience, once you start, then you're like, I want to go into past lives. I want to travel to other planets. I remember when I was at your training, I was doing a practice session with another student, and she like went into another like Atlantean lifetime and swimming with the dolphins, and I was like, Rob, over here. What do I do? But it was just really fascinating. So I hope that fills up. And thank you for sharing your work with us. It's just so profound.
yeah, if people want to check out my website, it's tappingthematrix.com. And there's a link to the academy where the trainings happen to.
Great.
I'm so grateful to get to chat with you on your show.
Mahalo. Me too. All right. So take good care, and hopefully we'll see each other in January.
Oh, cool. That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Bye.